Hey guys, in light of many of my recent videos being demonetized for gangster movie related content, I've launched a Patreon page. You can support the channel by becoming a Patreon, and in return you can get benefits like having your name mentioned in my videos, early access to upcoming videos, you get to choose topics for new videos, and more. Check out the link in the description below for more details. If you don't want to become a Patreon, that's perfectly fine, and I'll still be uploading videos as normal. This video is inspired by Josh Trank's recent Al Capone movie called Capone, starring Tom Hardy as the infamous gangster. In this movie, which I found hilariously bad, there is a hilariously bad scene in which, in order to avoid police detection, Al Capone rides shotgun with one of his cronies whilst dressed as a woman. This scene is one of the many things that has been ridiculed by reviews, and I thought it would be interesting to share that Martin Scorsese's recent gangster movie, his biopic of hitman Frank Sheeran, with Robert De Niro in the role of Sheeran, could have had a similar scene, as there is something that happens in the book the film is based on, I Heard You Paint Houses, that concludes with Sheeran dressing up as a woman. Scorsese's knack for not picking whether to insert scenes where his hard-boiled killers decide to dress in feminine clothing might be why his film was nominated for 10 Oscars, and Trank's film is one that has become a laughingstock. In I Heard You Paint Houses, which was written by Charles Brandt after Frank Sheeran made a deathbed confession of his criminal life to him, Sheeran recounts a tale of when he was working for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters for Frank Fitzsimmons, who had been placed in charge temporarily whilst the president Jimmy Hoffa was in jail. An incident had occurred in Philadelphia between rival union factions, one led by Joey McGreal, who brought muscle with him, such as Robert De George and Charles Amoros, who was trying to take over the local union. They attempted to scare union organizers and business agents, and occasionally violence broke out. Sheeran says, "I wasn't there for any of that. I got a call late that night at home from Fitz to be there the next morning because after a rally like that, you always figure it will get worse the next day. They'll come back looking for bear. Fitz said to me, 'Get things under control.' I know what that would have meant to Jimmy if Jimmy said that to me. I called Angelo Bruno and borrowed some Italian muscle. I had Joseph Cicchi, Ciancaglini and Rocco Tura and a few others. We had the good muscle. I had men inside the hall looking out the windows and men on the street. I had my back to the Union Hall. Two groups were walking towards each other from opposite ends of Spring Garden Street, the McGreal people coming from one direction and the people loyal to the local coming from the other direction. All of a sudden, shooting broke out. The first shot came from behind me and went whizzing past my head. They said I gave the signal for the shooting to begin. They said I pointed a finger at De George, and somebody from our side shot him. There was so much shooting going on, nobody could tell who was shooting at who or who started it. The cops on horseback had been there the night before, but they hadn't shown up yet that morning. That was some battle that morning. Chicky took 2 slugs in the belly. I grabbed Chicky and pulled him into a car and got him to my mother's brother, who was a doctor. Dr. John Hansen told me to get Chicky to a hospital right away, because he was sure to die with the wounds he had. I went over to St. Agnes Hospital, which was right across the street from my uncle's office. I laid Chicky down and rattled the garbage cans until somebody came out to get him. I drove down to Newport, Delaware, to hide out in an apartment over a bar until things died down. I called Fitz and I said to him, 1 down, 2 limping, and Fitz panicked and hung up the phone on me. That's the first time I knew things were going to be very different under Fitz. Still, at that point I had no idea the man was going to be capable of turning down my request for expenses when I got arrested for this on the thing that he had asked me to handle. I had no idea I was going to have to end up going to Russell to get taken care of on the matter. 1 down, 2 limping, and he hung up the phone on me. The DA's office put out an arrest warrant on me. They arrested Chicky, a black guy named Johnny West, and Black Pat, a white guy. I stayed in Delaware for a while, but I didn't want a flight charge on me too, so I got Bill Elliott, who had been a big shot on the Wilmington Police Department, to drive me to Philly. I wore a granny dress and a bonnet, and turned myself into a Philadelphia Bulletin reporter named Phil Gaglioso, who took me to the police commissioner, Frank Rizzo. Chicky survived. He had an iron constitution. They tried to get the black guy Johnny West to turn on the three of us. They told him I had turned on him. He said, "Anybody but him, I'd believe you, but him, I'm keeping my mouth shut." They tried the three of them within 6 weeks, and the jury found them all not guilty. Meanwhile, I stayed in jail. My lawyer, Charlie Peruto, was on vacation in Italy while I rotted in a cell for 4 months, and Fitz didn't lift a finger. He was probably too busy golfing or drinking. It cost me my union election at Local 326 in Wilmington. I couldn't campaign because I was sitting in jail. I still only lost by a few votes. Finally, the judge let me sign my own bail and I got out. Sheeran says that despite there being 3,000 people at the incident and a lot of confusion and bullets being fired everywhere, the charges brought against him during the shooting lingered in the system for 5 years. It's one of the many entertaining and eventful stories from I Heard You Paint Houses that didn't make it into Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. For more stories from the book, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification button for more videos, and thanks for watching.